Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Josh and today we're going to talk about all the equipment that I use on a daily basis to make the corporate videos that I do for my clients. So first of all, let me just start off by saying that all the work I do is alone and by myself. I don't have assistants, I don't have a team around me, so therefore everything that I've picked to do my corporate work has been picked with this in mind. Like most small video production businesses, my work varies quite a lot from day to day. I can shoot everything from a music video to a corporate talking head video to, let's say, a product demonstration video and everything in between. So it really does vary depending on what day and what client I'm working for. Therefore, it's really important for me that everything I use is as flexible as it possibly can be in terms of what it can create for different scenarios. Anyway, let's just get straight into it. I'll leave links to everything that I talk about in this video in the description if you do want to check it out. The cameras. So my main camera for every single project is the Panasonic S5. I've been using this body now since I got it back in October of 2020 and it's been my main camera ever since then. The reason why I picked this camera is quite simply because it's amazing at photo and video. It does both extremely well. Of course, it's able to shoot 4K at 10-bit 422, which is absolutely fantastic, and that's what I was looking for in my next camera. And I also wanted to jump to a full frame camera, which of course this is, compared to the older cameras that I had that were APS-C. So, you know, making that jump in sensor size as well was really important for me. In terms of the lens that I use with this camera, I use the 24-105 f4 by Panasonic. In fact, it's the only lens I actually have for the L-mount system and has been the only lens that I've used since October when I actually got this camera. And I've got to say, so far this lens has been absolutely fantastic. It's extremely versatile and it works really well for everything that I've thrown it at. Of course, this lens has a constant maximum aperture of f4, but that for me has never been limiting because the S5's dual native ISO is fantastic. So I actually shoot a lot of what I do at ISO 4000 in Vlog, which is a sort of next gain circuit in the ISO dual native ISO thing, and I get really clean results. So therefore that means that this lens works absolutely fine for me in low light as well. So as I just said, I do shoot everything in Vlog with this camera when I'm filming video, and I'll use a conversion light in post-production and colouring, which is actually by Gamma, and I'll leave a link to that conversion light in the description as well because that is the best one that I found for converting the Vlog in the best way possible. Now the second camera that I have is the Fujifilm X-T3. Now I rarely shoot anything that requires two cameras set up at once, so let's say if I'm doing a talking head sort of shot, it's very rare that I have two angles going at any given time. So in terms of matching the footage, I never really have to do that. I actually have the X-T3 body for redundancy, so that means that should anything go wrong with the S5, I've got a spare camera in my bag to reach for, you know, should anything go wrong. So therefore I don't really know whether you can call the X-T3 my B cam, because technically that would mean that it's the second camera that I'm using along with the S5, but since I rarely use them together, I guess it's just my backup camera. The lens I use with the X-T3 is a 16-55 2.8 by Fuji, and that is by far the most versatile lens that is offered for the X-mount system. It's fantastic, it's got a constant 2.8 aperture, and I find that to be absolutely fine for any video work that I do with it. Although with given time I will be investing in some prime lenses for my S5 and of course the Fuji as well. As soon as Panasonic releases the 35 and the 51.8, I'm definitely going to be picking those up, and I might also get some of the f2 primes for the Fuji body as well. Just for now, I'm using two pretty versatile zoom lenses and they're doing me just fine. Now the X-T3 actually shoots at 10-bit 4K as well, but it's 420 color sampling instead of 422. However, at 25 frames a second, it has a capability of doing 400 megabits a second, which is a really high data rate. So therefore, the Fuji isn't really a slouch in the video department either. And of course, I do shoot F-Log with that camera as well. The audio. For me, the most important factor of all of my paid work is the audio, and that's after I had one of my clients tell me that they weren't actually happy with the video that I made for them because the audio wasn't up to scratch, and ever since then it's stuck with me and I've vowed to never have bad audio again. Chances are people would much rather watch a low-res video that has really good audio as opposed to a really high-res video that has really bad audio, purely because audio is more distracting than visual, so therefore getting your audio right is paramount for doing paid work. So the microphone that I use for all of my shoots and for all talking parts, including in my YouTube videos, is the Rode NTG4 Plus microphone. It's fantastic, it's a directional shotgun mic, and it picks up voices and the detail in people's voices really well. I then run that into the Tascam DR60 Mark II field recorder. This is absolutely fantastic preamps, and it has two XLR inputs and one 3.5mm jack input, meaning that I can actually run in my wireless receiver kit if I want to use lav mics, on a shoot as well and still have really good preamps. So that's why I use a DR60, because it has the flexibility of XLR or 3.5mm inputs. The DR60's preamps also have a really low noise floor, so that means that I'm not going to get any weird hissing in my audio, and it always comes out sounding really clean, which I absolutely love. Now moving on, so as I said before, if I do use a lav kit, I will be using the Hollyland Lark 150 lav kit. It's really small, it's extremely easy to use, and it sounds pretty good, and I get everything that I need in a nice little wireless charging case. So therefore, if I do ever need to mic up someone with a lav mic, that is a system I'll be using, and I'll be plugging it straight into the Tascam DR60 so that I get the best preamp available to me as possible. The lighting. To light all of my corporate videos, I actually use the Godox SL60w. Now that's become a cult classic among sort of small creators and small production businesses because it's so cheap. The light modifier that I use with the Godox SL60w is an 82cm hexagonal softbox by Godox. Again, I found that on Amazon and it's pretty affordable, so I decided to go for that, and so far it's served me really well. I also have a newer 660 RGB LED panel, which I do use for some of my corporate projects. Of course, it's not normally used as a key light, it's normally used as an accent light or an accessory light, and sometimes if I do want some sort of RGB stuff going on in the scene, I'll then switch it to the RGB mode. But it also does have your normal sort of daylight colors like 5600 Kelvin, so therefore you can use it as a key light as well. In fact, all of my YouTube videos, I actually use the newer 660 at 5600 Kelvin instead of using the Godox SL60w, because where I'm filming, having a massive softbox will just take up too much space, and this light panel is nice and slim profile, so I can leave it set up on the C-stand just in the corner of the room that I film in, so that's why I use it, and I think it looks pretty good. I also always carry around with me my Falconized Irisa 1 RGB tube light, and again, this is just in case I need to add a splash of color to a scene, or even if I did need to get that 5600 sort of daylight balanced color as well, I can still do that with that light. But it just works really well because it's quite slim and you can fit in sort of awkward places, or let's say behind items you want to accentuate in a scene. So that's really handy, but I don't really use it on every shoot I do, it's just there if I need it. Stands and tripod. During the static shots, I'll put my Panasonic S5 on the Kaeya BV30L tripod, and this tripod is absolutely great because it's affordable and it's extremely solid and durable. It also comes with a fluid head, so it works really well if you want to get some light sort of pans or tilts whilst having the camera locked off as well, so I really like it for that reason. I have one C-stand that I use from Newer to hold up my Godox SL60w and the light modifier that goes with it. Again, it's pretty affordable. I think it was around 100 to 120 pounds when I bought it. And C-stands are fantastic because it means you can boom it over your subject. You can do top-down sort of stuff. It's got a really wide sort of base leg, which means that you can actually put a lot of weight on it without having to worry about it toppling down. So yeah, I would recommend to anyone that doesn't have one already, get a C-stand. I also have 3 other newer stands that are 220cm ones, and they're stainless steel. Again, there'll be a link to these in the description, and they're really cheap, but they're really good for holding up lighter loads, let's say like the microphone that I've got boomed above me now, and of course any light panels or RGB sort of tube lights I also need to mount somewhere. So they're really good and a good option because they are very small, compact and lightweight. Other equipment. In terms of monitors for my cameras, I actually have 2, and I use DesView monitors. So I have the DesView R7 and the DesView R6. Now, the DesView R7 is a 7-inch monitor, and I normally use that when I have the camera locked off on a tripod and when I'm not moving around as such, purely because it's a bigger monitor so I can see a little bit better. And then I'll use the R6, which is a 5.5-inch monitor, on my gimbal or when I'm shooting handheld because it's a little bit smaller, a bit more lightweight, and sort of fares better when you are shooting with your camera in your hands. To carry all of my audio equipment and my monitors, I use 2 Max 300S flight cases. Again, I got these from Amazon and they are under £50 here in the UK, which is really cheap, but they're really, really sturdy. Of course, they're flight cases, so they're built to last, and they also have the pluck foam stuff, so you can sort of configure it to whatever you want to put inside the case, and they work really well for transporting all of your delicate equipment. The gimbal I use is a Giant Grain V1. Now this is a really old gimbal, but it's all metal build, and so far it's not let me down in the 3 years that I've had it. And when I bought it, I actually bought it used for under £150, and it's still running absolutely fine. So for me, that was an extremely good investment, and I'd recommend it to anyone that wants to get a gimbal, but maybe doesn't want to spend that much money on one, because you can get them secondhand on eBay and Facebook and all that sort of stuff for still really cheap, sort of around that £100 to £150 mark. Although I do have to say, out of all the equipment that I use, I do think that my gimbal will be the next thing upgrade, purely because eventually I want to use the S5 with some heavier lenses, so therefore I need something that can handle a bigger payload, but the V1 right now just sort of like maxes out with the S5 and the 24-105. So therefore, if I did want to get any other lenses that were heavier on the 24-105, getting a gimbal that can support that heavier payload would be essential. As I said earlier in this video, links to everything that I've spoken about can be found in the description. Okay, so I think that covers pretty much everything I use in my commission videos. If you think I've missed something out, then please let me know. And also comment down below on what you use, what your workflow's like and stuff. I'd love to hear exactly what you guys are using. Anyway, I hope you guys found this video somewhat interesting, entertaining or useful. And if you did, then please consider subscribing. And hopefully I shall see you in the next video.